The kiss of the sun for pardon, the song of the bird for mirth. One is nearer God's heart in the garden than anywhere else on earth. Imagine, when I wake up in the morning, I pull up the Venetian blind and I look out and I think, I'm the luckiest woman in the world. I really am. I feel so happy to be here. This is my favorite plant in the garden. This is an oxypetalum, and I think the blue is, there's no other flower that gives me exactly that blue, and I just love it. I was very lucky to find it in the nursery, because normally you have to propagate it yourself, and I've never been very successful, so when I found those beautiful plants I couldn't resist them. I'm basically very much a pink and blue girl, not an orange and yellow person. Some yellow, I like sort of butter, soft yellows, but not the very harsh ones. Most of the garden is informal, but this piece around the house where we can see it from the stoop, I keep it formal, and Jackie Cooney does it for me once a year. But there are clipboards, it's contained in a hedge, and it's around a formal square. I think that is fairly formal. There are two roses everybody must have in the garden, because they're so fantastic. This one, Ado Heritage, that and my granny. My granny doesn't get disease. Ado Heritage is a very free flowerer, and the flowers don't droop. On the top there is Berg barbier, and it's just this moment, it is very free flowering, and it's a lovely little rose to have, again in old-fashioned rose, and it is growing in with this clematis. Look at it, it's just covering the wall. Another passion of mine is daylilies, and here's quite a stunning daylily. The trouble is with daylilies, if you're going to open your garden, this becomes a real pain, because you have to rush up early in the morning and deadhead it.
Are you a perfectionist?
Not really. This is the problem with these wonderful spires of plants. You know, it's got wet with being watered, and it's collapsed. I must keep that fixed. Oh, sad. You wait so long for them to flower. Isn't it beautiful? Mm. Great. When a weed comes up, if it's got a pretty flower, it stays. It's not the end of the world to have a weed. To me, you know, it's fine. And if a plant comes up in the wrong place, even in my white garden, only very seldom do I move something if it's really jarring. Sometimes something comes up by mistake, like hollyhocks, not hollyhocks, foxgloves, which I love. But then a pale purple one came up. Well, it just stayed because I didn't want to pull it out when it was flowering. It was obviously flowering for me to see it was purple. You know? So I'm not a perfectionist in that way. It was a completely barren piece of ground except for 3 huge oak trees. Peter and I started an indigenous garden up through those arches there. I planted proteas and heaths and things, and we both enjoyed getting those because they didn't need a lot of looking after. That was the main thing. Yes, and the children did need a lot of looking after. And I only had to char once a week, and I had 3 boys and Peter, whose shirts had to be ironed every day. So that kept me quite busy. I went to Johannesburg with Peter for 10 years, and then I came back to Cape Town for another 10 or 12 years. We let the house in the meantime, so we couldn't do anything. I mean, there was no point. And then I made the water garden with a friend who was looking after my father's garden, Joyce Merrington. And Peter didn't want it, and so he said I was being ridiculous, and I knew I was being, but I suddenly this bug that got me. We started with just a little tiny pool at the top and that main pool where there are water lilies. Then we got that far and she said to me, you know, this plot is ideal for a water garden. We should just make it go on. And so gradually, as I could afford to, we made it go on to the next pool, which has a little waterfall falling into it, and then on down to the 2 bottom pools, which are the biggest. Then, when I got excited about the garden, I started buying gardening books. And I would look at them and I think, I wonder where I could put that little room in my garden. That's how it started. And then I'd find a little space somewhere and I'd try and make something there. Had this made, of course, and I had my niece, Martine de la Harpe. She was working for some people who did tiling and that type of thing. This was designed with the round in this trellis, and this has been picked out here. Do you see? It's the same. You miss a lot of things like that if you haven't got me to tell you, you know.
And do you sometimes feel that this is such a sort of conversation you're having with the garden and the world, and that people aren't hearing the other side of the conversation because it's all in your...
Yes, I don't expect them to enjoy it like I enjoy it, but it would make it more interesting for people if there was a tape, for instance, if I ever opened it again to the public. If I had a tape that they could listen to how the things developed, It's like when you're going around an art gallery and you have earphones on.
But even just your own family and your kids. And
yes, they don't. I mean, I don't think any of them know that I went to the trouble of having this thing made with a floor made that matches and all that sort of thing, I don't think they would dream of knowing that. I must say, I don't know if you can take that, but if you look up at that tree, it's absolutely amazing. It's so big. Dick and I used to sleep up there a couple of times. But it was big enough there was a double bed mattress and we loved it. My grandchildren never loved it. They were frightened to sleep up there. Little figures, these 2 children looking into the water, were made for me by a great friend. I love them. That came from England. That's a lead figure. It came from England and I got it from some friends. When they died, they left it for me. Can you see her little face with the hair blowing? It was given to my father, so it has special value for me. I love it. Now the story here is that I had so many shells, and in Johannesburg I had them displayed like you would display porcelain on shelves. When I came to Cape Town there was not space because I had enough porcelain. And so I decided I've got to do something with the shells. And I knew a girl who's very clever, and I said to her, I want a grotto in this area. And she said, Margot, I can't do your shell thing unless you just build a wall. So that's why we built the wall and made the platform, and then she did the design and stuck them to the wall.
What made you want a grotto?
I was looking for other features for the garden. I never expected to open the garden to the public, but just for my own amusement. And this is my white garden, which I love. This was just nothing. And then I just suddenly thought, well, we've got to do something with this. But the whole garden is on such a slope that it's a mission to get a garden going in a place where it's so slopey. But then I thought somewhere it was the fashion to have a white garden, so I had to be in the fashion. So we got it. Now, two naughty things happened here, you know. Two pink roses got into this garden. But I'm not going to move them because I think they're happy here. And I made a mistake, but I thought they were white, but they're pink. So they stay.
Naughty pink flowers.
Yes. This part of the garden is what I call the wild garden because I'm mad about plants, so I have to find a space. And often there's only a space where it's not the right place for the plant. But I buy it in any case and I put it in. And somehow it all gets mixed up, but I think it still gives a very relaxed look to the garden. God gave all men all earth to love, but since our hearts are small, ordained for each one spot should prove beloved over all.